We have a massive power, and it's the power to say no.
2024 is the year when the pushback begins in earnest.
People ain't seen nothing yet. That's what I keep telling people.
It is a master-servant relationship where we, the governed, are the masters.
Doctors are gaslighting patients.
You press down enough on people for long enough, you leave them no choice but to rebel.
So, no, I don't want to forget about it, and I won't shut up about COVID.
The story of the unvaccinated is still yet to be told.
We are one people, one flag, one Australia.
Hello, world. My name is Stephen Tripp. Welcome to the Ex-Candidates. They're very much appreciated for everyone who are watching this at the moment. If you're watching us on all our different platforms, if you are watching us live, you can contribute to the chat tonight on Rumble, Facebook, or YouTube. Also, you can call in. The link to StreamYard is already in the chat if you want to call in and ask us a question or make a comment or maybe yell at one of us, particularly Mr. Buono in front of me. How are you, Sam?
Good, mate. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. What have you been up to, mate?
Wheeling and dealing to a point, doing a few things at home and catch up with some old mates before Christmas and one or two political
Christmas?
maneuvers.
What's Christmas? Do we celebrate Christmas in Australia anymore?
Well, I still do.
Yeah, all right. Good. You're welcome in our fishbowl then.
That's right.
And let's welcome Councillor Adam Zahra.
Hey.
G'day, fellas. How are you?
Good, mate.
Very well. What have you been up to, mate?
I have been very, very busy. Actually, I'm going to tell you something. I've been fighting for you people. I've been fighting for all of us. All right. I've been fighting for Australian values. Okay. And I've been addressing many councillors and things like that. We've got, I was at the local government New South Wales, which AGM conference, and that was located in Tamworth. And what happens is we have, I can't believe this, and it kind of blows my mind a little bit, fellas, is that, so I'm in government, and then we have a governing body for
an oversight.
An oversight. So we have a governing body for government.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good. So this AGM was about what local government New South Wales wants to lobby the state government for. So my understanding of it all is they lobby the state government on behalf of all councils, right, and we choose the topics that they want to lobby. Okay, so the voice is not over. Okay, they're still trying to bring the Aboriginal voice to Parliament into in via councils. So I got up and spoke about that because let's just face it, guys, we had a referendum, $400 and something million was spent of the Australian taxpayers' money. That's right. It was biased against the no. So you could put a tick for yes and a cross for no, and guess what? The no vote wasn't counted. I said it's basically been done. Let's focus on topics that have not been resolved. They didn't like that. No, I mean, a few people didn't like that. It did get voted. Luckily enough, it got voted down. So we're not going to lobby that, right? Which is good. And if you thought your, 6-year-olds were safe in the toilets and at sporting grounds and stuff like that, well, guess what? Rest assured they're not, because they're still trying to get that stuff in as well. So again, I didn't get to speak because I was rudely shoved out of the way of the microphone by another pundit out there. And so my understanding of it all, and I'm going to say this on air, is that they're trying to say that a grown male, biological male, who has decided to transition into a female, which no one's ever said that they can't do that if they're an adult, okay? All right, is more vulnerable than a 6-year-old child. That is basically the sums and nuts of it, or the lack of nuts in it.
That's right.
Okay, so what happens is that these are the things that today's podcast is about Stephen Tripp, right? But what I want to say is that if you are conservative, if you have family values, if you want Christmas, if you want to have Australia Day, you need to vote in the people who are going to fight for you, right? And stand for those values at all levels of government, because council is pretty powerful actually, and state is even more powerful, and then obviously you got federal, okay? But what happens is, if you're not getting off your backsides, if you're not supporting, and not talking about people who do this thing, like these things, but if you sit at the TV and complain about the way Australia's heading and don't do anything about it, you're part of the problem. You're part to blame. So I recommend you getting up, supporting your party or your independent candidate, and really, really, right, encouraging them and helping them fight for your values. Anyway, back to you, Stephen.
It's good to see that Tony's already in the chat. Welcome, Tony. Sam, you said to me before we started that you were a bit worried that we might go under an hour. You forgot that we were sitting next to Mr. Adam Zahra.
That's right. I haven't started yet. If Tony gets online, we'll be here for a while.
Well, but tell me that.
Hang on. All right.
These are the values, but these are values that we want, right?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, but no, you can poke fun.
Yeah, I
which
will.
is fine. Which I like it because
we're going to fire up.
We
tonight.
fire up and all that
Fire
stuff.
up.
But the fact of the matter is, if we
We're
don't
just getting
start
warmed up.
if we don't start getting people involved and really shaking the tree and really getting it happening, mate, it's all going to go away. It will all go away.
What you should also do is you should also head to Buy Me a Coffee if you want to throw us a few dollars there. It helps to pay for the website. It helps to pay for the stream, which is the subscription for that's coming up very, very shortly. So if you'd like to help us out there, it would give us a warm and fuzzy feeling inside, which is very, very important. You get the residual fuzzy feeling, Sam?
I can feel the radiation.
The radiation.
Off that golden mic too.
That comment deserves a few dollars alone, I would say.
Good.
So please head to Buy Me a Coffee. It would it would be much appreciated. And every time people part with their hard-earned money, it really amazes me, and especially now with this cost of living stuff going on. It really is tough out there, I must say. If you want to keep up to date with everything we're doing, please head to commandingthenarrative.com. There's a sign-up button right at the top right-hand corner. You'll get a weekly newsletter from me, and you'll get to keep up to date with all the podcasts that we do, articles I might write, or events coming up. You can see there that I just did a very important interview with the Honourable Kevin Hogan on Commanding the Narrative this week. That was a great interview with him, and he's been fighting back against the misinformation bill and standing up for all Australians. So please check that one out. Commandingthenarrative.com is the best place to go.
Start that. We've got some good news with that.
No, you're not in charge of this podcast. Thank you very much. If you are worried about the misinformation legislation and you are worried that it still might go through, please head to the Light Australian newspaper. Best way to get the uncensored truth out there. It's a hard copy publication that you can put in people's letterboxes, or maybe go to your local newsagent and see if they want to have it on their stands there. You can go on the lightaustralia.com and sign up to be a distributor. It's only about 15 cents a copy to purchase the light, and then you can hand them out for free. Or if you are in Sydney or close to the Northern Beaches, there's been a pallet that's already been paid for. We just need people to do the legwork of getting it out there. Please call the number 0406 861 816, and you can speak to Paul and get some copies of the light delivered to you so you can get it out there. Tony says Mad Bill was slammed. She's also said, Stephen, I forwarded those videos you requested on Signal. That's too late now, Tony. I don't have access to Signal, unfortunately, but I should have some other ones lined up. Also, this week I had an article published in the Spectator Australia. So please check that one out. Just head to thespectator.com.au. The Spectator also do some fantastic work getting some real important information out there. I was also on Alexandra Marshall's show on Spectator TV and 80H TV, so check that out tomorrow. They should be putting that one up, and hear the interview that I had with Alexandra talking about nuclear energy and what they're doing in France, recycling spent uranium. And they reckon they have about 2,000 years worth of fuel in waste that they can recycle and reuse.
So when we were running federally about this, and we had that was technology was spoken about, and there was figures that because that's section like category 4 or something like that regarding
fourth generation reactors.
Yeah. And basically we had all the uranium on the planet. We have about 2,000 years, but with generation 4 or something like that, it takes it up to almost when the sun expires.
Well, think about it this way. Bob Hawke, you would probably remember this, Sam, used to talk about Australia taking the world's waste of nuclear and storing it here in Australia and making a huge amount of money from doing that. well, with this technology now, we could not only store the waste here, but we could reuse the waste and not have to dig out a single ounce of uranium out of the ground to power our nuclear facilities.
So then free energy, right?
Well, in a way, yeah,
Well,
we'd
pretty
be
much. I mean, the only thing
making
you're paying
money.
for,
Yeah.
the only thing you're paying for is what? Is the infrastructure.
You know, the only thing we need is competent leadership.
Competent
Yeah, that's
leadership.
what-
Wait. Let's say that
that's
again.
what-
Let's say that again.
Competent leadership. Do we have to spell it now?
Oh my goodness. Well, can we spell it? Competent. Anyway, why do we not like? You know what? The problem is that you wouldn't really need a politician after they solve the energy crisis, because then there'd be really no more problems with the planet.
Well, you wouldn't need the Greens anymore.
That's right.
Also, this week, I've had a very busy week.
Do we need them now?
Gentlemen, no, we don't.
I need to fight the misinformation, disinformation bill.
Now, this week I was on Dave right now. I think last time we were sitting in these chairs, we had Dave on the show. So he returned the favor, and I went on his show this week. So please support everything that Dave's doing. He's got I was blown away with his production value and how much effort he's put into his podcast. So please head to Dave right now on Rumble and follow him and check out my interview with him. We spoke about a lot of what got me involved into politics in the first place. A little bit of some insight onto the incident I had with Zahra Stegel, which is quite infamous. So please check out that podcast with Dave. I mean, he's a great guy and he's doing some tremendous work as well. Now, also on Monday this week, I received an email, which will probably be the topic of our discussion here tonight. And I've called this podcast Why Stephen Got Kicked Out of the Liberal Party. Some people might say, Stephen, we didn't know you were in the Liberal Party. I didn't ever really make it announced. I didn't ever come out and announce it or anything like that. But yes, I was in the Liberal Party. I was in the Liberal Party since October last year, so well over a year now. And this week I was kicked out of the Liberal Party. So we've kind of alluded to it along the way. Some people have kind of spilt it and everything like that. But what tonight is about commanding the narrative. And I found out that this email that I was sent was also leaked around to other people as well, which I think is
what's his confidentiality, bro?
Yeah, well, where's the privacy in that? But you know what? I've got a podcast, and as Victor DL has told me before, the paradox of being a podcaster is that you rarely get to speak about yourself. Hey, guess what? I get to speak about myself. So
well, he programs the show, so we got no choice in this matter. All right.
I'm just going to sit back and let these guys interview me now.
Oh, interview you. So I only found out that we were going to interview Stephen about this yesterday or the day before. So, Stephen, why were you kicked out of? Were you just? It's because you're an overachiever, isn't it?
Well, I mean, some people might make that argument. I can't possibly say that. No.
Well, I'm going to say it. You're definitely an overachiever.
Well,
you're above average in your achievement level.
I can give the backstory. So, I first joined the Liberal Party in 2010. I was always a Liberal Party supporter. I was always a very strong supporter of John Howard and Peter Costello and their government, as I'm sure you guys were as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, we felt like we had a good government back in those days.
And I'll be honest with you, they were the best years I ever lived. I was a factory worker at the time. I never did a minute of overtime, 3 or 4 years. Yeah. You know how 7 days a week now, right?
Yeah.
I didn't work. I worked 9 to 5, or it was shift work, regular hours, no OT, made more money back then. And at least that dollar was worth something back then, right? Than I ever have since. Never matched that quality of life from the when it was the Howard Costello years.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam? You would have lived through the Hawke Keating era.
Yeah, a lot
did
reforms.
Howard change the country for the better?
Well, it was a combination of both Keating, Hawke.
Louder.
It was a combination of Keating and Hawke and Howard and Costello over basically a 25-year period. When Hawke got in of 1982 or 1983, all the way to Costello and Howard in 2007, and then the country went backwards after that.
We're gonna have to get you fired up, mate.
So when
you get fired up, you really project your voice. But when you relax,
who knocked Howard off his pedestal? Kevin 07.
Oh,
Kevin
07. You know
been
what?
downhill ever since.
And we've had a record amount of prime ministers in those short periods.
We haven't had a good government since.
We've had three.
We haven't.
We had three. I'm just thinking that we've had three prime ministers in 25 years, from 82 to 07.
That was all we had, 3 prime ministers.
Hawke,
And then-
Hawke till 93 or 92. Hawke for 4 years. Keating for 4 years to 96, and Howard from 96 to 07.
And
And it was the most stable, not a problem at all.
consistent government.
That's
Is it the
right.
key to life, or that I'm starting to learn?
Mind
is
you,
consistency.
we still went through wars and recessions and Tampa boat arrivals and Port Arthur massacres and a whole bunch of issues.
Yeah.
But we still felt like we were governed well and we were safe and we were prosperous.
And do you feel that it was because both the major parties actually upheld the values that they were started initially with, and that's gone now?
I feel like they all had conviction. They really believed in what they were pushing forward.
And there was a lot of consensus too.
Yes.
A lot of those economic reforms of Keating in the 80s, Howard ticked it off, and all the Peacock who was there at the time, they all agreed with it. So they went through pretty easily.
Sam, are you telling me that Labor at one point in time could manage money or have had decent monetary policy?
Yeah, that's yes.
What?
Keating and reforms.
Labor?
Yeah.
What happened?
We lived off the sheep's back until the mid 80s, and suddenly we reforms, deregulated, float the dollar.
Yeah.
Right. All those sort of things, and then the GST in the late 90s. John Howard won the election.
Yeah, I
off that.
remember.
Sure, he lost a lot of bark off it, but people gave him the benefit of the doubt for the country.
Okay, so I did join the Liberals in 2010. Now, I was always working, so I never really got to go to any meetings or anything like that. So I let my membership lapse, and then fast forward to COVID, and I've gone through that story before. If you want to find out about that period, why I got into politics, why I joined One Nation, go watch the interview that I did with Dave right now, or Victor DL, or the other people that I talked to in the past, or this podcast
watch
as
this
well.
podcast, because
Watch early
especially
episodes.
we talked about it a lot.
Yep. So we're going to skip that. We're going to go to the New South Wales state election, which was last year in March. That was when Mark Latham was still
One Nation.
One Nation. He was also the leader of One Nation in New South Wales. Now, Adam, you've lived this with me. Sam, you've lived this with me. We were mainly Adam and I and all the candidates. We were under the Mark Latham learning tree. And when you look around now, there's councillors like you. There's councillors like Quinton King. There's others as well.
Mark Watson.
There's that have been elected in parliaments, and they were all from the Mark Latham learning tree. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I do agree with that, and I will agree with that. Mark, I think there's no muss, no fuss with Mark. With Mr. Latham.
Mark taught us. I went in some of those meetings, and Mark old-fashioned Labor values from the 80s of how campaigning.
Yeah, and both he and Rod Roberts were moving the party in a direction.
Yeah,
they were trying to build up what they had. Now, what they had wasn't perfect, but they were trying to make the most with what was there
from very limited resources.
Would it almost be like we were talking about just a few minutes ago? Politicians with conviction. Okay, they had a bit of drive. They weren't perfect, and they're not perfect people.
You knew where they stood,
right? But I'm telling you, they old-fashioned, real values. They believed in what they said, and they just drove you. And they really did. And I got to tell you something as well. Budget-wise, okay, I did far more off during the state campaign with real direction for a lot less money. Okay, so there was a lot less money involved, and I increased my vote. And I believe a lot of other candidates as well. So I can only speak about my experience, but a lot of other candidates increased their vote, and we knew what we were really fighting for, really, at the end.
Plus, he would reply to you.
Yes, he was. They were very generous with their time. Tanya Mihalik was also very generous with her time. I'm not. No,
mate.
I'm not going to say no, because I'll give credit where credit's due. Okay. No, I'll give credit where credit's due. Okay, so all of the whole One Nation thing's all gone away and frittered away now and whatever, right? But when we were running under Mark, okay, and we had events to organise, if we had a park event, if we went to the shopping malls, whatever we did, if we asked, and they would come. and they did. And I don't care about any water that goes under the bridges. Those things did happen. So we were supported, and I did have Rod Roberts, Mark Latham, and Tanya Mahalik all gave us a lot of time, and because you don't know about like phone calls and stuff too. So if I had a question, I could just make a phone call, and one of the three would answer. But like, whoever I rang, if I rang one and didn't answer, I ring the other one, they answered. You know what I mean? So like, because you get hit with a question, or you get hit with people talking stuff to you, or you got to answer emails and that. What do I do here? What do I do there? Speeches, so I had to go and confront other candidates, candidate forums and stuff like that. Yeah. And so we'd get a list of questions. So, you got to toe the party line. We all know toe and party line.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I didn't want to say anything that was wrong, right? I know I believed in 99.99% of all the policies that we had. So I know that I'm not going to say anything wrong, but we're not allowed to contradict. So if Mark or one of the other leaders said something, and then you happen to say something just a little bit off, that's a gotcha moment, right?
That's right.
So I wrote all my answers down. I texted, I emailed, whatever I had to do, and I got responses. You can say that. You say that. No worries. Yep, that's all good.
And it's taught you to be disciplined on the political side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably, and when you were running for local council, you would learn all that basic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it hasn't changed. You always keep it simple, stupid, and stay on message and stay on it.
Stay on message. Yeah.
We've got Richard, we've got Richard also in the chat. Welcome, Richard.
G'day, Richard.
So now after my campaign in Moringa, Mark Latham even brought up in a meeting that my campaign was very well run. I achieved media coverage. I got on Chris Kenny. I wasn't on the show, but Chris Kenny covered my campaign during one of his shows on Sky News. So I got the media, that part of it. But when it came to the state election, I guess I was a little bit politically naive and assumed that Mark Latham would use me in some way. I remember we went out to meet him in Leppington at a cafe.
I know, yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't Leppington, but it was Camden.
Yeah, Camden, okay. And
no, sorry. Let's get it right. Harrington Park.
Okay. He was very impressed with you. Definitely wanted to get right behind you.
Yes.
Not so much me. Now, he said, you live in Manly, you're not going to get anything in Manly. It's a waste of time.
Right? So this is the thing too, right? So obviously very cold, but upfront and not going to piss in your pocket.
Yeah. Straight to the point. I was actually pitching for the upper house, and he just said, no way. So that kind of left me in the wilderness a little bit, and scratching around to do something.
Just coming back to that, I know Rod told me this, and even Mark said this, but he always thought you had potential that needed a bit more time. So, and the Mark Watson up in Newcastle way, he always had, you were always a part of the long-term future. So he told me that you're a bit rough around the edges still, but you're improving.
And I can't believe that you're rough around the edges compared to me, because I'm rougher around the edges to him, but I suit my area.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm right from my area. I'm representative of my area.
That's correct.
Yeah. So what happened was basically I was told by Mark that I wouldn't be needed, but I didn't give up, and I kept persisting. And when the nominations came up, I put my nomination in, and basically took it all the way through to the interview stage. And I remember sitting down at my interview, and you had Mark Latham there, Rod Roberts, and two other of the executives. And the first question was, how you going? How's work? The first question about the actual interview was, how would you like to be number 7 on the ticket? No, what can you contribute? Yeah. And by this stage, I'd written articles for The Spectator. I'd been on different media. I'd had this podcast going for almost a year by that point. So I felt like I had things that I could present, but they weren't even considered. The first question was, how would you like to be number 7? I said, no worries.
Okay.
Put me wherever you want me. I don't care. Now, what ended up happening was one of the other candidates dropped out, and I was bumped up to 6. So when you're number 6 on an upper house ticket, you're basically in no man's land. But I saw it as an opportunity to really prove myself in the party, and I went around and I helped as many candidates as I
And you did. And you really did. You were an overachiever in that. You were everywhere. Where'd you go?
I went to help you.
Once.
The chap at London.
Come off it.
Once.
Yeah, Londonderry, Parramatta,
Penrith.
Penrith. You came with me to Penrith. Tamor, I was down there at one stage. Hornsby, I did
Hornsby,
a lot of time
Hornsby.
in Hornsby.
Yeah.
So I'd really got around.
Yeah, and you went up to the Central Coast too, didn't you?
Not for any election stuff. I probably went to an event or something
You
like
went
that.
a lot up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I made sure that I went different places and showed my face and showed that I was really serious about this. Now, I did get one opportunity to speak at a function up in Warrawee. Now, this was, I can't remember how close out from the election, but you came up with me.
Yep.
And I had,
I think it was about a month out, 6 weeks out.
yeah, probably about that. I had about 90 seconds to speak or something like that. And I got up there and I said my speech and blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, I got approached by someone and they said to me, I've worked in Parliament. I've worked for this person. I've worked for that person. You don't belong in One Nation. I said, what do you mean? You're a Liberal. You're too good for, you're being wasted in One Nation. You should be in the Liberal Party. I was like, well, that's very nice. Didn't really think anything of it. A couple of weeks later, she says, I would like you to get in front of someone that's essentially a bit of a power broker in the Liberal Party. So this was at the New South Wales state election, mind you. So I went and had the meeting. We sat down, we chatted for many hours. They liked me, I liked them, but there was no real path for me to enter the Liberal Party because they basically said, look, the lefties control the party. If they see someone like you come in, they're going to just cut you out straight away. The issue is, if you want to join the Liberal Party, if you'd been a member of a previous party, or what's worse, if you've been a candidate running against an endorsed Liberal, you get cut out straight away. You cannot join the Liberal Party if that's the case.
That was the killer for you.
I have been told that many times. I have been told that too.
So it was nice to be wanted, but the other issue as well at the time was that even though Mark Latham didn't use me for a prominent role for the state election, I was added to the New South Wales State Executive. And I saw that as a role as I could really contribute to and help to build the One Nation Party, at least in New South Wales at the time. So I felt I'm not going to make any risk by leaving the party. I'm being encouraged to leave by this person saying that I'm too good, blah, blah, blah. She's pissing in my pocket, whatever. But I said, I'm in this position. I'm going to stay there and I'm going to see it out. A couple of weeks later or a couple of months later, I'm sitting in a house somewhere and it's a joint national executive and state executive meeting. Pauline Hanson's sitting there, James Ashby and the whole crew. And I guess maybe I stood up too much for New South Wales or whatever it might have been, because not long after that meeting, I was removed from the New South Wales State Executive. And this was right around the time that Mark Latham was being removed as leader.
That's right.
Of the party. And I guess I got caught up in that in some way, maybe just collateral damage, but
anyone who was perceived to be loyal to Mark
was
gone.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And it's not and the loyalty is funny because we had strong leadership from him. He was a phone call away. It was just what you would expect from a party trying to build itself up.
So here's the big thing about all of that. Now, when I was removed from the executive, my first thought is, well, that makes my position untenable in the party. But here on my little shoulders is little bird saying you should be in the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the only thing that was keeping me in One Nation was being in the executive. Now I've been removed from the executive. Why do I have to stay in this party? Maybe this is the time to make the jump or remove myself from One Nation for a period and then look to join the Liberal Party later. Now, a lot of people perceived that at the time that I was just kicking up a fuss because I'd been removed from the executive and I was having a bit of a sook, going, oh, well, if you're going to kick me from the executive, I'm going to leave the party and screw you guys, I'm going home kind of thing. That's not the case. There's a little bit of a backstory behind it, and that's the backstory. So I thought, well, I mean, maybe this is something I should pursue.
Well, you're being pursued by, let's face it, a major party.
Yeah.
To what you thought.
Yeah. So I made sure that I resigned from One Nation before Mark and Rod did,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to be perceived as just following them. So this was a decision that I was making completely separate from Mark and Rod leaving the party. And that's what I did. So I think it was like a day or two before they resigned. So did I. And I don't know if we want to talk about that period because we haven't really fleshed out a lot of the issues that were going on around that time and the allegations and everything that was flying around. Do you want to have any comments, Sam?
Well, at the time, there was obviously allegations from Rod Roberts and Mark Latham on the floor of Parliament.
Let's listen to it.
Let's let the accusers speak
before we put our foot in it.
Let the accusers speak.
This is exactly what they had to say.
There has been recent commentary in various forms of media that reflect upon my honour, character and integrity. And I feel as though I owe all members of this chamber a personal explanation. As I say, there has in recent times been various media commentary about Pauline Hanson's One Nation, in particular the New South Wales parliamentary team, in which I have been personally referenced. Can I say this whole sordid saga is not about election results, but a pure grab for money, and something that I will not be part of. Therefore, I wish to advise the House that as of now, I will no longer be a representative of Pauline Hanson's One Nation and will serve the remainder of my term as an independent. I'm aware by doing this, I'm committing political suicide and extinguish any further political ambition that I may harbour. This was not an easy decision to make and one done after deep and extensive consideration. However, this is necessary because I feel so strongly about the issue of integrity and accountability when it comes to the use of public funding by political parties, and that money is provided by New South Wales taxpayers. Pauline Hanson's One Nation has attempted in the past to wrongly appropriate New South Wales electoral funding by funneling it into the hands of the federal executive for use not related to New South Wales interests or purposes. And I'm talking about a substantial sum, a figure in excess of 6 figures. This was only thwarted by the intervention of both the Honourable Mark Latham and myself. Now, I won't canvass the issue in full here because this is not the correct forum, but the allegations have been documented in a letter authored by the Honourable Mark Latham and with my concurrence, and have been forwarded to the Honourable John Graham in his capacity as Special Minister for State. I will not stand by and allow this to occur, nor can I be associated with a political party that acts unlawfully and without morals. For the record, I want to say that I'm not accusing any former members of the New South Wales Executive of any impropriety. Far from it. They have always acted with integrity, and their integrity is beyond reproach. This action has the grubby fingers and fingerprints of James Ashby all over it. He is a con man, a spiv, and a fraudster. And I warn anybody having dealings with him to be extremely careful. I thank the House for its
See the guy in the background pissing himself.
Yeah, Benaziac, loving it. Yeah. I hope everyone could hear that then. Tony was saying that the volume was a bit low. I hope the volume was coming through. That's a little bit a different video that I had to play there than something that was online. But in retrospect, Sam, time has passed since Rod Roberts left One Nation. Do you think he made the right decision?
No doubt that he's made the right decision.
That's a yes, because that's a lot of no's and doubting in that one
No
sentence.
doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt. Do you want to expand on it a little bit?
Well, this has been brewing for
I
years.
thank the House.
This has been brewing for years. I heard probably 2 months prior to the election. This time a year ago, 18 months ago, that this was happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you stop being like mesmerized by the screen and
I got to be honest with you. So, like, I didn't know any about any of this. I was too.
What are you
busy.
talking
I was in
about?
campaign mode.
What the hell?
I didn't know.
This was after the election.
Was it after the election?
Yes.
This wasn't before the election?
No.
No, well,
This was after the
This
election.
is not after. Oh, it was after the election.
What do you
You're
mean
right.
you weren't paying attention?
No. Sorry. You're right. It was after the election, right? Because I was in campaign mode, so I didn't hear about anything beforehand. Sorry, guys. Right? But hey, come on, man. It's all a blur. You never stop. So yeah, okay. So after the election, I remember it now. Now I'm remembering. Sorry, I do apologize.
Funny enough, when I heard that it was all going to blow up, it was on actually election day of 23. We were at me and Rod Ritz and Glen Alpine voting booth, and we was there for 3 hours.
For me?
Yeah, on state election day.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And he was with me all day.
I was busy playing tennis.
It was a pretty quiet afternoon. From about 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, he was there.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like they gave us a lot of time.
And he gave me the whole rundown of what's going on. I said, "Oh God's sake, this is going to blow up sooner or later."
Yeah.
Evan says, "Turn it up, Adam."
Turn it up. What?
Turn it up.
I didn't know about the financial controversy until after it all came out.
Okay, well, this is what Mark Latham. Let me just see if this is working. How do I know if this is working or not? I hope everyone can hear this because I can't tell if this is working or not. Maybe
the screen's flashing.
Yeah, I hope people could hear that last video. Well, let's try this one. Oh, I don't think anyone could hear that last video. Anyway,
Paul, the Honourable Mark Latham.
Mr. President,
Write
I
in the
rise to
comments if you
correct
can
lies
hear it or
told
not.
by James Ashby on Sky News about the matter of my recruitment to One Nation. In truth, Pauline Hanson and Ashby approached me to join as part of a grand plan they had for uniting Australia's minor parties. Nothing came of their plan, of course, but they were insistent on me heading the New South Wales ticket at the 2019 state election. Meetings were held in Sydney and Goulburn in 2018. At the Goulburn meeting, Ashby excitedly told me of the new political united force being funded by the Koch brothers and National Rifle Association in the United States. He was about to travel there to seal the deal. I told him that this was an incredibly foolish idea, especially for a party like One Nation that shouldn't rely on foreign influences and foreign money. I sat there across the table as Pauline Hanson agreed with me and told Ashby not to go to the United States. Well, silly me. I thought she was in charge of the party and Ashby as a staffer would follow her clear instructions. The matter exploded onto our TV screens after the New South Wales election when it became clear who was really running Queensland One Nation. Ashby was running Hanson, not the other way round. Incredibly, he'd gone to the United States in search of Koch and NRA money set up by Al Jazeera and a guy with a handful of Facebook followers on a bogus Facebook site. Ashby will do anything for money. His greatest hunger in life is for illicit funding, and he ignored Hanson's explicit instruction, blinding himself to the obvious political sting, a completely humiliating Al Jazeera expose. He made no basic checks about the guy planted offering the money. In any normal political world, it was a straight-out sacking offence for Ashby. In a welcome act of consultation, Hanson rang each of the One Nation state MPs around Australia, and to a person we said Ashby had to go. Hanson rang me to say she was keeping him on staff. When I said how ridiculous this was, she said, and I quote, "I can't function without him, Mark." Well, Mr. President, how pathetic. Here is the Hanson-Ashby disease. She's so hopeless she can't function without a hustling shyster addicted to party and public money scams running her life and now making her media appearances for her. Rod Roberts and I took the view that as long as these clowns stayed north of the border, we could get on with our business here in New South Wales, having been elected to the upper house. When they took over our state executive earlier this year, we had no choice and now we've resigned. Hanson and Ashby have been codependent and co-responsible for each of the financial scams plaguing One Nation, the NRA Koch brothers debacle, the ghost candidates at the last federal election, running Tasmanians in Western Sydney, running New South Welshmen in Victoria and so forth, solely to maximise electoral funding at the expense of the party's legitimate reputation. The plain declaration scandal, when Ashby falsely tried to blame his lawyer, the costly property investment debacle, the printing scams, the prosecution of a party official for Queensland electoral rorts, the false invoicing of election materials when Ashby was caught on tape, and the list goes on. God help New South Wales One Nation now that the Ashby disease has come south of the border.
What do you think about that, boys? I'm sorry about the audio. because they were videos and not online, I had to do it a different way. So I don't think anyone could hear the Rod Roberts one, unfortunately, but hopefully you could hear the Mark Latham one there.
That's the sort of allegations I got told on that day at St Helens. I was at Glen Alpine that there was money via third party into Queensland.
So we must stress allegations.
Yeah.
Allegations.
There's an investigation which I believe is ongoing.
Still ongoing.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I got told that the Electoral Commission are not really equipped to deal with it. So yes, it's still ongoing as far as I'm aware.
So you think that's crazy because New South Wales has ICAC.
Well, it's being investigated by the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this has been. Hold on, Tony's saying. Yes, we could hear Rod Roberts. It was just low volume. It was probably coming through our speaker, so that at least you could hear something. That's reassuring. Look, this has been happening in the One Nation Party. Well, this sort of stuff allegedly has been going on in the One Nation Party for some time. Now, this was something that was called Please Explain on the ABC. It was a Four Corners production in 2017. They were talking about what was happening in One Nation in Western Australia. So if you're a One Nation candidate out there, you might be very interested to hear what they had to say.
Elise Cotton is one of many who found being a One Nation candidate is a costly exercise. Four Corners has obtained a copy of One Nation's Queensland candidate application form. It must be signed by every candidate, most of them battlers on low incomes, before they can run for the party. It lists 2 standard fees, but then there's this clause. The purchase of promotional material, such as business cards, corflutes and other election material, as decided by the party. There was a catch. Candidates have told us the only printing business they were allowed to use was James Ashby's.
I was asked to pay for campaign equipment, like campaign paraphernalia, corflutes, flyers, business cards, banners. It came to around $3,500. I wasn't prepared to pay that.
$3,500 for printed material?
Yeah.
How were you meant to pay for that?
Out of our own pocket.
Elise Cotton found a local printer, her son-in-law, to produce the same material for $1,500 less. She was disendorsed before she could suggest the cheaper alternative.
What did the letter say?
Just that I didn't comply with the paperwork and I hadn't provided any funds and that I was no longer required as a candidate.
Elise Cotton is one of many candidates who've told Four Corners they felt pressured to buy large amounts of printing from James Ashby.
Multiple candidates are being pressured all the time to buy the products from Ashby. The corflutes and the flyers had to come from Ashby, nobody else. And there was significant amounts of money being talked about. I mean, and they had to find this money.
There are other concerns.
Okay, so look, all allegations, I don't think we probably should comment on it other than to just put it out there and to, I guess, it is what it is. So all these are contributing factors as to why I believe these parties aren't really what they say they are.
Because you're comparing now not only just One Nation, but you're also comparing your experience in Liberal Party as well, which is a major political party, not a minor political party.
Correct.
And my sense is that it ain't much better.
Well, I always felt that One Nation treated candidates very, very poorly, more than any other party. And a lot of these people were just everyday people that wanted to stand up for their families and their communities, didn't have a huge amount of money, and they thought they were doing the right thing. And I think the party took advantage of them. That's my personal opinion.
I don't feel taken advantage of. But I was a babe in the woods as such. You know, you've never been in the political realm before. You've never been involved. And I just think that a lot of just normal average Joes distrust. Probably should have spent the a couple $100 and taken the contract that you signed to a lawyer,
Yeah.
just to have a look at.
Yeah.
Okay, get some of the little fine.
But you think
details.
that this is Pauline Hanson's party? She's sticking up for us. She's sticking up to the little people. Why should we have to take it to a lawyer? Why would she? Why would there be anything that you would have to check?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. So I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, we all signed the same contracts. We're all in the same boat. Do you know what I mean? I guess for me, it was never a money thing.
Sam, do you want to comment on this? This is a blog by Anthony Green, who's a commentator for the ABC, a pollster. He wrote this article at the time, and it talks about Mark Latham being deposed as leader from One Nation, and then further down, it talks about the number of people that have been in One Nation over the years. Now, this part here, it says, of the 36 members to represent the party, 22 left the party. 22 left the party. One was disqualified before taking their seat. 4 stayed in the party long enough to be re-elected. 6 stayed but were defeated, and 3 members still in the party are yet to face re-election. Only 7 members lasted long enough to face re-election. The 8th was Mark Latham, who now sits in the resigned column. Now, and it goes through the list, every single one of the people that have been elected to a parliament in New South Wales, or in anywhere in any state across the country, and also the federal parliament as well. It says that, and this was back then. So it says that Stephen Andrew is still in parliament. That's not the case. He was
dumped. Then he became a cadder.
Yes,
and didn't get elected.
Didn't get re-elected. So he's gone as well. So all that remain. Sarah Game in South Australia, Ricky Lee Terrell in Victoria, Tanya Mihalik in New South Wales, and of course also Malcolm and Pauline in the federal parliament. So of all those members of parliament, they've certainly lost a lot. What do you think that has to say about being within the party, Sam? Pauline will say, I'm surrounded by idiots and everyone that comes into the party is an idiot, blah, 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 and I'm the only one with any political nous. I mean,
it's basically in a nutshell that just doesn't, there's no stability, obviously, with so many resignations.
But don't you think where there's smoke, there should be fire?
No doubt about that. But she's got that persona. And the polling she's still polling. They're still polling at 7-8%, 6 or 7%, 8% in some places now. They got 9% in Queensland in the state election.
Now, Adam, since I've been since I left One Nation, do you want to make any comments of what's happened to you?
What's happened to me? Well,
let me put it in perspective. I have a very good friend who I also sit as a committee member on another group, who ran recently in a state election for One Nation, and they received an email from the party saying you will not associate yourselves with the ex-candidates. So that's the pressure that the party is putting on people not to associate themselves
with us,
with both of us.
Both of us.
Not just me, but also you.
Yeah.
Which I think is incredibly unfair.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I've got to be honest with you. I don't know what happened, but there was a fair bit of communication. I've still received a message here or there from certain people, from certain executive members, I guess, that are on the federal. And stuff like that. So basically what happened was, for me, is that election finished and got ghosted. Requested to keep my social media up because I was planning to run, more. Was promised, well, we were told by leaders of New South Wales that we were going to run council. And then I said, but One Nation doesn't run council. And they go, don't worry about that. We're going to run council. So, I thought, I'll keep, like I did from federal to state, keep campaigning, keep everything going, keep building up my social media and stuff like that. Requested to keep my social media, and then it got canned. There was a bit of pressure on me to stop doing the podcast, and I refused. What happens is in the election cycle, right? So in the election cycle, you're a bit under the thumb when you're a candidate. After the election happens, That's it.
Yeah.
You know, that you're no longer a candidate. You become basically disendorsed. You can be a supporter of or something like that, but you're not really under the thumb of the party anymore. So I'm like, well, I'm being with Stephen, you know, been building up our brand as the ex-candidates. We've had many high-end guests that even like, you know, we're talking like 88 Spectator, like people want. Well, the Sky News follow us sometimes and get people who we've had on previously, and they'll go and get them on after we've had them on. So that's why it's been changed to Commanding the Narrative, because for some reason this little fishbowl studio gets some of the good people, and other people want them. So yeah, and then basically no more communication since then.
To the point where you had to run as an independent for council with no backing, no help.
Ran as an independent. So for the federal and state campaign, ran as a one nation person. Put all my cards into that game. I, you know, just all in, and built a profile. I won't say that that being One Nation didn't help me build my profile to a select group. It's obviously a niche market. But I did gain some skills from campaigning. I did learn from a few of the leaders from the party. And then I've come across as an independent with no help from the party. It was all off my experience learned. Yeah. But see, the thing is, like for me, I don't get I'm not all personal about it, eh? I don't care. Good luck to you. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, I ran my campaigns. I ran them my way anyway.
But you learn a lot off Rod and Mark. Like,
I'm not saying I didn't learn a lot of. I did learn a lot off Mark.
The basic cause, your basic.
The principles was learned. I'm not taking it away from those two men, because I respect those guys a lot. I got a full respect for those guys, and you're right at the career the level of their career is, and then you resign from One Nation. I mean, it's we know from Stephen that Liberal Party ain't going to take him, right? But what I'm saying is, I don't take it personally, because I've got to be honest with you. I never did it for the money. I never did it for anything other than what you were saying before. Is I was just an Aussie battler trying to stand for something, and I put my faith in an organisation to get my point across. Luckily for me. Okay. And I can understand like people who are real battlers, and I had some savings, and I don't get me wrong, it was a house deposit. So that, I mean, I lost that opportunity. But what I'm saying is, right, I felt there was a greater cause. I was fighting because of the COVID tyranny. I was fighting because of the global climate change propaganda and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't being led. I didn't feel like I still don't believe we're being led the way we should be led. And I don't think the politicians in power at the moment, even in opposition, are really doing what's best for the country. So that's why I've got my voice. But in the end, I did get elected off my own accord and off my own bat. And I utilized every asset. Yes, I had orange shirts. Okay. If people came up to me and go, "Oh, but you're the One Nation," I was One Nation. I'm still a member, but I'm not a candidate for One Nation. I'm an independent. You can see it here and there. I had fights with Labor Party people calling me One Nation.
So you just said you're still a member. What's the situation? Do you want to? Is there a situation? Are you still a member of One Nation?
I am still a member of One Nation. Okay. They renewed my membership.
Of course.
Right, but I'm just saying. So no, right? Look, for me, I still look. I don't care about all the BS. Okay, I still believe in. I separated myself a lot from. Didn't worry about the executive and all that kind of crap. Right? I was running under the policies of One Nation. I was a member of One Nation, and I ran because I thought that was the best party that were in my beliefs. As I said, I believed in 99%. However they manage their money and however they manage their executive and people, that's not my business. That wasn't my business. That is for ICAC and the, Electoral Commission and police and federal, whatever the hell. I don't care. I was running for a reason, and I stood true to that reason. That's why it was not hard. It wasn't that hard to run as an independent, because I had already ran as an independent basically anyway, just under the banner of One Nation.
Just to remind the audience, the link is in the chat to StreamYard if you want to call in and have a comment. Tony says, The party treads water. It seems to be deliberate. They're standing in the way of other conservative minor parties. What do you think about that, boys?
No,
Should One Nation get out of the way of the, say, libertarians, for example?
Are libertarians conservative, Tony? I don't think they are.
Yeah, well, they're not.
What other conservative minor parties are there?
What's the
Family first.
Family first?
Family first.
And they're only there.
I think we look at the end of the day, right? I think we still need One Nation at the moment because there's no alternative, and there are members of parliament, and you can't tell me, okay, that Malcolm Roberts doesn't put it out there, okay? Like
Malcolm Roberts and Sarah Goma, I would never say a
bad word against
about
them.
either of them.
And I've got to be honest with you, I'm not saying a bad word against Pauline either.
I would.
Oh well, you can do that, but I'm not, because I still feel like I don't know. As I said, I don't know in depth about all that other stuff and all those allegations. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Like, so what happens is, you know, being in the rumor mill and listening and stuff like that, you know, I trust Mark and I trust Rod, their integrity. I believe that what's going on, what they're alleging and what they've alleged, right? That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, they can do that. They would know a lot more. Okay. But for me, it was never about any of that. I don't care about the politics inside the politics. I care about the real politics that actually affects the people of Australia, of New South Wales, and of Campbelltown.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
This is what I take out of it. These ex parliamentarians, I get the impression, and what I've been told privately, they've got no problem with Pauline. As Rod Roberts said in that speech in Parliament, it was all about James Ashby.
I look at Pauline, and when I've spoken to, every time I've spoken to her,
I saw those two speeches, it was all about one person.
What happens to One Nation when Pauline Hanson retires?
Well, this is
who assumes the leadership of the party then?
That's a different story.
That's a $64 million question.
And the biggest thing that actually pissed me off about the whole party thing, right, was that Stephen and I spoke to them and said, "Hey guys," and we really upfront. You're getting on in years. Let's face it. How many more years are you going to run? Okay, you need to be building up your younger candidates. Right. And it wasn't just about like Stephen and I, because I said, at that point, I probably wasn't as good of a speaker. I'm not the great, but I wasn't as good of a speaker then.
Well, you've improved 1,000%.
Yeah. Like
and that's just experience.
Improving.
And I might as well say, well, you hear both of you. I remember when you just came out
green
as grass.
Yeah.
Look at you now. You can talk confidently, straight to the point. There's no hint of nervousness anywhere. So, you know, you've improved immensely, and now you can go to public forums and talk, and without a problem at all.
Yeah, and we were saying that. Thank you very much, mate. And that's what we were saying about.
Yeah, let's give Sam a big
card. Think about this, right? But Sam's always been there. But Sam's always been in the background for us, both of us. He always did.
Well, that's why it's fitting to have Sam here tonight, because he's been on this journey and he's been taking the phone calls and he's seen a lot of it with his own eyes.
Yeah.
So he's been along the journey as well. And look, you pulled me out of a very tough situation during my federal campaign where I had some guy trying to run my campaign and he was running it into the ground, and you were the one that grabbed me by the collar and said, "Right, we do this
way.
That's right.
This way." And you
and we've formed friendships ever since, eh?
That's right.
It's like all of us are friends.
Through thick and thin.
Yeah. Anyway, let me keep going. So what happened? What was I saying about the? I lost my train of thought. Oh, come on, man.
The One Nation component with whatever.
Oh, we were saying that we confronted the leadership and said, why aren't you training the younger candidates who really believe in what you're pushing? Right, and to bring us up, right? So we said, just let us know when you're going to media. Let us know when you're going to different events, right? Like, because we would have paid to go to them.
Mark Latham didn't agree with everything that we were saying, but he took on board what we were saying, and he did do a lot of that.
Yes, so we did get a lot more support and a lot more insights and a lot more training through Mark, and Rod, And
he deserves acknowledgement.
He does acknowledge. I still trust Mark Latham. You know what I mean? At this point, you know, like I just think like it's.
Pauline says, Tony says, Pauline failed to defend free speech. She had an opportunity to put her money where her mouth is, and she chose censorship instead. Then she used free speech as her defense against Faruqi. The irony isn't lost on me.
What the hell was that?
Didn't she vote for the misinformation? She voted against the misinformation, disinformation?
Yeah, Tony, you're going to have to explain yourself there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fast forward to the voice referendum. So I've been out of One Nation for maybe about 3 months by this point. It was October last year, and I'm handing out in Manly for the no campaign.
Oh my God.
And the Teals are out in force. And anyway, this woman came up and she was asking me why we should vote no. And I started telling her my reasons as to why she should vote no. And interestingly, she was a Muslim lady with a large family. Like, I think she had about 4 or 5 kids. And we just interviewed Kerry White, Aboriginal elder from South Australia. So I knew my shit. I knew articles in the Spectator about this. I knew how to come at this.
You did.
Suddenly, the Teal volunteer runs in, gets in between me and the woman, and starts spouting off all the Teal nonsense. And this woman just turned around to her and said, I agree with him. I'm going to vote no. Next minute, the Teal turns her heels onto me and says, I want you to tell me exactly why you think you're in the right here. So I just had a normal civil conversation with her.
You can't vote.
Well, we tried to. Now there's back and forth until one of the Teal handlers came over to her and said, get back and get, you're missing people coming through, right? Discipline, right? So I'm left by myself again. Straight away, another lady comes up to me, a member of the Liberal Party. She says, you're a Liberal. You should be with us. And I said, I've heard this before.
See, the thing is, right? The story is that good candidates that might be a little bit like diamonds in the rough, okay? And then they just burn you.
Okay, Tony says she, as in Pauline, should have supported Mark Latham after the tweet.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. I mean,
I don't know if it was. It's testing the bounds of free speech, isn't it? Though?
That's right. Mark. I'm sure I haven't spoken to Mark about that, but I'm sure in years to come he'll regret it.
I'm not saying anything about it. I just think
he won't regret what he tweeted, but the aftermath after it and who came out the clouds to support Alex Greenwich would have shocked him to a point. You won't get that sort of stuff. You won't hear that until he's out of public life or in his last speech in Parliament.
In his memoirs.
Yeah, but if he writes a memoir, maybe he might write something. Visiting who takes him and stuff like that afterwards.
So this lady said, you should join the Liberal Party. Yeah. I said, yeah, I've been, I was formerly One Nation. I've been told that's going to be a hex against me. I can't get in. She said, I'm going to get you in front of my branch president. He's a former this and he's a former that. And he's been campaign manager for this person, blah, blah, blah. He's an influential person in the area. So I'm like, sure, I'll meet with anyone. So I met with him. Great guy. I'm still friends with him to this point in time. Told him my story. He told me his story because he's lived the tale as well.
Yeah.
Let me say that. And he said, well, same thing as I heard from the previous people. If the lefties in the party who are in control, they all say the same thing. The lefties of the Liberal Party are in control. And if they see someone like you coming, they're going to chop you off straight away. So I said, well, then what option is there? And he said, we sneak you in. Why are you under the radar? I say, okay, well, I'm open to that. If we're going up against lefties, let's go to war. I'll do whatever we want.
Because it is war.
Yeah. I mean, if they want to play their little games, we'll play games as well. I said, well, how do we do it? He said, simple. When you fill in your application to rejoin the party, because you got to remember, I was already a member of the party back in 2010. I already had a membership number. There's 2 questions. 1, have you been a member of another party? And 2, have you been a candidate against an endorsed Liberal? I didn't disclose that.
Uh,
And I assume because I already had a
membership
number, they've seen it and gone, he's renewing his membership. Tick. I got into the party.
Well, that's how they did it.
And I even became a branch president, branch secretary of the Liberal Party.
See, the problem is, that's you're an overachiever. When you fly under the radar, you got to fly under the goddamn radar, right? But you don't, Mr. Tripp. You cannot fly under the radar.
And so you got back in the party.
You're back in the party.
Secretary.
Branch secretary. I didn't even know you were branch secretary.
I was a branch secretary. Yep.
I knew that.
I didn't know. Well, because you tell Sam everything and just leave little old Adam out in Campbelltown in the dark.
I wasn't branch secretary for very long.
I can imagine. Anyway, keep going with your story because I'm getting filled in too now.
You what?
I'm getting filled in with a lot of detail.
Oh, well, this is it, right?
Yeah.
So, look, I never felt comfortable because straight after that happened, I did talk to a couple other people. So they said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
you can't hide that. They're going to see it straight away.
Not to mention you spent thousands of dollars to campaign and put your face up. Somebody's just going to turn around and go, "Hey." Anyway, keep going.
Not to mention, I was in that electorate, only the election before, as the One Nation candidate.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm like, I'm stuffed. So it did hold me back a lot. I never really felt like I could pop my head up too much within the party.
Except
I still did other stuff.
And there's the old saying I got taught: there was always a skeleton in your closet.
He kept every phone conversation. There's that skeleton in your closet. You're making a mistake. What are you doing? Come back home, son. Like
it was always no. Now after that, this is where you went probably a bit too far.
Yeah, go on. Because then what did you do,
mind you, I never sought out the Liberal Party. They always approached me. Right?
You should have listened to a few other people, including me.
Anyway, keep going. What did you do next, Mr. Tripp?
Well, I stayed quiet for a lot of the time. Mind you, a lot of the power, let's call them power brokers within the area, knew exactly how I got back in and still offered me positions. One example is to be a branch president of one of the branches.
Yeah,
I suspect possibly that person was the one that revealed my application status later on.
So you would feel like you were stabbed in the back.
Well, it's not even that. It's just the little games that they play. I will say this. There's obviously factions within the Liberal Party. I never even met the left faction. The people that were out to get me were the Conservatives. The left didn't even get out of bed when it came to me.
Because they know that the Conservatives were going to take you out.
And what I found, what I really struggled, here's some things I really struggled with in the Liberal Party. The first thing was I would be told something by one person, and I was thinking I was following the right advice because, look, I feel like I'm a good person. I just want to do the right thing. You can say I did the right thing by not disclosing my former relationship with One Nation, but I was told, well, stuff the left. You're just going to have to do what needs to be done, and I went along with that. Then I got told I shouldn't have done it. Then I got told I should have done this. Then I never knew where I stood because everyone had a different opinion about what you should. You never ever had any idea what was going on. Here's the other thing. I would go to meetings and events and different things, and when I would go to One Nation things or other parties, we've been to UAP things,
Libertarian,
I've been to Family First events, you'd walk in there and it was almost like going to a birthday party or a wedding or something. You knew everyone, you were excited to see everyone. You'd look forward to it. You'd be there with bells on.
Yeah.
Liberal Party, like there were Christmas coming, the Christmas parties coming up soon. I was dreading them. I'm like, you go in there and the people, it was like they were only there to be part of a boys' club or to stroke their own ambition. I never met anyone really. I mean, I shouldn't say I never, because obviously there are very good people.
There are good people.
There are very good people in there.
Yeah.
But and a lot of very good people supported me in there, and they continue to support me now. But they're few and far between, unfortunately. And I just feel like some of them weren't even across the issues. Like you talk to them about nuclear energy, and even though it's their major policy going to the next election, it's just blank.
It's factional.
They got nothing. They're only there to fuel their own ambition or to be part of a faction.
That's right.
And it was horrible.
I think that's the major party disadvantage. They don't have to work that hard I'm not saying
future they'll have to work hard.
no, but what I'm saying is you know like you kind of like
the Liberal Party Labor will have to work hard.
yeah, but you join in, you know that you can get parachute if they
Yeah.
like you get pre-selected, they can drop you into a spot. You're almost guaranteed to get your spot in a safe area. You know, they don't it's you know, it's not like us, you know, reading every policy, researching, starting podcasts, trying to learn.
That was the other thing, right? So we again, the Mark Latham learning tree, state election. We get this booklet of policies that you would have to
memorize pretty much.
Memorize and remember and blah,
No.
blah, blah. I went to go hand out at the by-election at Pittwater recently for Georgia Ryburn. And I remember going there thinking, oh, damn it, I haven't caught up to date with what the Liberal policies are. I need to go on the website and check out what they are. Nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
This is what I mean.
There was something about upgrading Monavale Road. That was it. It was
Because
like
they
people
know.
are only voting for that Liberal Party logo. That was it.
So no one checks it.
No, they don't even bother.
They probably had one visit to that website and it was you trying to find policy.
What did the Teal campaign on?
Same thing.
Nothing.
The same issue. They
issue.
both had, I should have taken I swear I should have taken a photo of this. The Liberal parties had a corflute saying, let's upgrade Monavale Road. And right next to it was a teal corflute saying exactly the same thing.
No.
There was no point of difference. No point of difference.
So
how are you going to win an election like that?
This is why you need parties like One Nation, because at least there is a point of difference. And it anyway, and it keeps keep going.
All right. So
come back to factional play. When you go to these minor party meetings like One Nation,
there was no One Nation,
Family First, all that. It's all as one. You go to a branch meeting. I've been at branch meetings for all those 3 or 4 parties.
No. Oh no.
What? Hello, Mr. Storch.
The boy. How you going, son?
You just muted yourself for some reason.
Okay. Unmute yourself.
How are you? Commiserations on your execution.
Mate, I've been so happy. I've been more happier than ever. You just muted yourself again. I don't know why you keep muting yourself.
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay.
What have you got to say?
You muted yourself again.
Muted yourself.
What are you doing? You keep doing this.
I keep pressing the mute button and it doesn't do anything.
We can hear you. You don't need to press the mute button.
Don't touch a thing.
Don't touch anything.
Well,
have you got something to say, Richard? Don't press the mute button.
Okay. You hear me now? Or is this
too
much?
Can hear you.
No,
keep talking.
There's lag, I think, isn't there? I can't.
There is a bit of lag. That's what it is.
Okay.
There's a slight lag. It's just how it is, Richard. So you just have to wait a couple of seconds for it to come through.
Okay. We'll wait. Commiserations on your execution by the Liberal Party. If they
Mate, I just said I've been. This came through on Monday, and I haven't been happier.
Yeah, you haven't been. You haven't been for a long time, until this week, and we talked. But the thing is that you were trying to make yourself into somebody that you weren't by being a Liberal Party person. That's what I always felt. And
I've been a Liberal since I was a kid. I'm more Liberal than half the people in the party.
That's the problem. There's a lot of people in the party that aren't Liberals.
That's the problem. The people that are in the party are not Liberals. The Liberals have been taken over by people that shouldn't be there.
Yep. Anyway, they may actually win an election in spite of themselves in a few months' time. I can't quite believe that it's possible, but they seem to be sort of succeeding somewhat in spite of themselves. They're much more interested in fighting each other than they are fighting anyone on the other side.
Because they know the general public only look at 2 parties.
True.
And Albanese is abysmal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Liberal Party are winning or Albanese is just losing. It's like Albanese is actually holding his head underwater himself.
Yeah, he's such an idiot. But anyway, the Liberal Party almost seemed to be, trying to match his underperformance. It's really quite hysterical, don't you think?
Yeah.
Tony says Dutton is much better. The age bill is sinister. That's what Tony has to say.
I don't even know what the age bill is.
That's where they have to check the ID. So for under 16 or something like that for social media.
They're trying to ban under 16s from using social media, which would mean every single person would have to verify their age before they use these social media platforms.
Which then means digital ID to verify your age.
Yeah, that's probably a good example of the Liberal Party sort of going into a situation where they zag instead of zigging, and then sort of take about sort of a month or two to work out that they've actually taken a wrong turn and sort of correct themselves. It's quite comical the way they continue to sort of fail to seize opportunities like that. They could have taken a clear position right from the get and actually had an impact.
Well, don't forget, Richard, that they drafted the bill in the first place.
Yeah. Well,
so do they really want it not to succeed?
They do lots of stupid things which you can't really explain. It's just a waste of time trying to work out what they're trying to do, because I really get the feeling that most of the time they don't even know themselves. Really.
We need somebody like Robert Menzies to come back.
I think he'd walk in the opposite direction from them at the moment.
He'd probably go to One Nation, kick Pauline out and say, hey, I'm taking over.
Yeah, it's like in an ideal world, Pauline Hanson would turn One Nation into the Queensland Party and separate it from One Nation in the rest of the country. That'd be an ideal world. Won't happen. Anyway, Stephen, I think you've learned a great deal about the Liberal Party, and the more you saw and the more you learned, the less you felt comfortable being there.
Well, I certainly didn't feel comfortable. That's for sure. That's for certain.
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable among the people. I did feel when I was wearing that blue shirt, I felt comfortable because I'd grown up being a Liberal Party person. But look, there are a lot of people in that place that are just there to stroke their own ambition and to feather their own nests, and they could care less about this country.
Well, you have the ultimate illustration of that in the Morrison government, where Morrison was incapacitated because he was, pretty ill mentally, and Alex Hawke made all the decisions, and they were all political ones. So every time there was a decision, it was always the most expedient, politically advantageous decision. It had nothing to do with anything else. And
so what's the answer, Richard? What's the if One Nation are no good and the Liberal Party are no good, what's the answer?
Well, I've always voted against politicians, not for them. And I've found some fellow travellers in the Libertarian Party, but as I said to Zazelja, he goes, we're still banging away. And I said, well, you keep banging away from the inside and we'll keep banging away from the outside, and eventually we'll get some forged metal. And that's pretty much where we're at. It's just a case of resisting all the nonsense that's going on at the moment and waiting for reality to sort of kick in. It's like in the last month, all the contracts for power generation have been taken up by the big companies and trust funds because they realise that AI is going to need to consume 10 times the generated power of the world. Now, that makes everything to do with anthropogenic climate change and so-called renewable energy and all that sort of stuff. It makes it completely irrelevant. It's the debate has moved on, the world has moved on, and Australia's pitiful political parties are going to have to pay catch up. That's what's going to have to happen. And at the moment, they are as completely unprepared for the future as the whole country is.
Mm-hmm.
They're not leading, they're falling behind.
I saw some reports the last couple of weeks saying our standard of living and our productivity is almost in third world status.
Well, I can tell you that just from being on the bloody streets, mate. This is shocking.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that bad yet, but we have seen a dramatic fall in all the ways we would measure our progress. Inflation's basically taken, 15% of our national wealth in the last couple of years. The government's been spending more money than it's ever made. Government spending's gone up 60% in just over 2 years. That's unprecedented. That's never happened before. And then we've got this clown who's the treasurer wanting to raid the retirement provisions for superannuation, for Commonwealth superannuation. The guys
I don't reckon there's any money in super. Hey,
Tony says you are surrounded by I told you so, yours truly included.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you had a crack at it. Well, I guess you could take that view.
Well said. Well said. And it's like at the moment we're in a kind of phony war, waiting for reality to sort of actually set in. And maybe we might get a lead from America, because I'm pretty confident that Donald Trump's not going to let any grass grow under his feet.
Yeah.
So,
but we're just lacking that Trump figure, right?
Well, we always have, and maybe Trump here wouldn't actually cut through, or wouldn't actually get to a position of influence.
Richard, would he win a seat in Parliament?
Well, true.
You just can't be blasé with the way the voting system, preferential voting system. He only has to lose 10% of the vote and he wouldn't get in. If he was on 50% down to 40%, now he's in trouble.
Yeah.
So that the system in Australia and the Westminster system is so much different to the American system. It's you got to win that. They say you got to win the center ground to win elections. People would say that the Republicans in America won the center, where Trump campaigned on inflation, some cultural issues. I was reading something the other day where that advertisement on the trans issue where Kamala Harris was for she and her, wherever they see, and Donald Trump is for you.
I actually think it's much simpler than that. Trump, by going on the podcast, showed how human and how genuine he was, which was the masterstroke, and it made Harris just look like an insubstantial politician, just a lying lawyer, if you like.
Well, with Trump going to Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan pointed to the men. People watch 90% of Joe Rogan is men, so he thought that they go for men, and the strategy paid off for him.
The fact of the matter is that you need leadership with balls.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? It doesn't. You know what? At this point in time, okay, if we had a leader from any party that had a huge set of cojones and actually followed what they said they were going to do, I think we would end up in a better direction than where we are now. Because all we're doing now is debating over ideology, okay, just round and round in circles. We're not producing nothing. Money's eating up money is consuming itself, okay? We need to actually get leadership with conviction again and then move forward, because honestly, the same crap gets rehashed over and over again. You know, and what happens is it fails federally, then it goes to state, it fails, then it goes into council and fails. Right? Like let's just wipe the slate clean and go, hey, put $1 billion or something like that in motion in saying, hey, you know what? You can't, if we've had a referendum, you can't recontest that policy in all 3 levels of government for at least 12 years or something, 3 terms or whatever. It's got to come back.
Tony says, snap, spot on, Adam. Leadership with balls is what Stephen alluded to earlier, conviction.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, Richard, we'll have to leave it there. Do you have a final comment before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. Just good luck with your journey, Stephen.
Oh well, we're only just begun, right?
Can I ask a question?
What's that? What's
Richard?
that saying? We've only just begun to fight.
Yeah.
Richard,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you're a betting man, what would be if there's an election in March? What will happen? You reckon?
Hung
At this
Parliament.
moment,
Hung Parliament.
with Labor in charge, with the Teals.
No, I don't think they'll get enough seats to be able to form government. But I don't think Dutton will want to form government with half a dozen independents either. So where that leaves us is a very interesting place.
Oh,
Well,
we're thinking about another election in June, are we?
July, yeah.
Come on.
All right, Richard, we'll have to leave it there. But thanks for calling in, and we'll speak to you soon.
And be appropriate, Richard, quickly, that if your scenario
You said
thing
goodbye.
that scenario, it'd be almost 50 years since what happened with the Constitution crisis in 1975.
Yep, that's right.
All right.
Yeah,
Personally, it won't happen.
Okay,
but
all right. I'm going to say something I really enjoy saying on this show when I have Sam on. Shut up!
That's the first one tonight after an hour and a half.
Shut up.
All right. Thanks, Richard. We'll see you later.
See you, Richard.
Bye. All right, let's get to the main event of all of this. You've asked me what all brought this to a head.
Talk about it.
Now, I felt that obviously I would love to run against Zahra again.
Overachiever.
And I would love to do it with the Liberal Party badge on me.
Overachiever.
Because I think that would be significant. I thought it would probably at the earliest happen the next election. Now, this came up in a conversation with some people and they pushed back and said, no, you need to go this election.
Which I feel is a good advice.
Well, their reasoning behind it was that Zahra is still strong. Therefore, there will be not as many candidates in the field for a pre-selection. So if you want to strike, now is the time. So I was like, okay. As soon as I put my hat in the ring, that's when all the knives started coming out. Faceless men who I'd never met before, hadn't even spoken to before, came out of nowhere and tried to stop me straight away. And what they used was the fact that you hadn't disclosed that you were One Nation on your, first application.
Yeah.
And, we're going to have to kick you out of the party because of that.
That's, the thing is, that's shocking and trivial. And I want to know who these shadow figures were. I don't have to name them, but I want to know where they come from. But my thing is...
Well, here's an example, right? So I have a good friend in the party. He called one of them up and brought up my name. And this person said, he's a really good guy. I've done a little bit of research on him. He's fantastic. Mind you, I also knew only a few days before he'd been slagging me off in a meeting with all the head honchos in the party.
Not your friend, the person that was your friend.
The person that my friend was ringing. So this is the way that these people operate. They'll talk to the members one way, but they'll operate behind the scenes in another way. So what my view is, okay, I know that I didn't disclose it on my application form. That's been hanging over me the whole time. But let the members decide that. Let me go to a pre-selection and say to the people in the party, I was formerly the One Nation candidate. I did not disclose it when I tried to re-enter the party. That's on me. But here's what I stand for, blah, 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 blah. Now you guys get to decide. It didn't get to that. The faceless men got rid of me. And then they took that email and they distributed it around to different people within the party.
Well, this is crazy.
So,
Did you get a copy of that email?
Yeah, of course I got it. They sent it to me.
Was it all BCC'd or you couldn't see who they sent it to?
No, it's saying, Stephen, these are the reasons why we're kicking you out of the party. Which would be, you would think, confidential. That's not how they operate. So the way I operate is we command the narrative, right? This is the truth. This is what happened. So I'm sure they're trying to do their little smear campaign behind the scenes, but I'm just going to come out and say exactly what happened.
Show them the email.
This is the story.
And then how did that person find out about it? And how did that person find out about it? And why is everyone talking about it? Why are other party people talking about it?
Well, this is what I found out, that yes, people in other parties outside the Liberal Party were aware. Members of Parliament were aware of what happened to me. So it's been getting out there, so I might as well address it.
So the thing is, right, you can see that, the little people from One Nation, okay, who created quite a little bit of an impact in the political realm, i.e. Stephen Tripp, okay, and it just feels like that they've just tried to clip the eagle's wings.
Well, here's the thing. So there's only one other person that has put their name up for Warringah for the Liberal Party, and now she gets smooth sailing through. So no, there's no need for a pre-selection. I think that was probably one of the big reasons as to why I was kicked out of the party, is because they wanted me out of the way. Get Stephen out of the way. Now we don't have to have a pre-selection. We can run our captain's pick straight away.
Because it's never a guaranteed if it goes to a vote. And let's say if you're impressive, which you are.
I was behind the 8 ball. I didn't have any MPs backing me. I didn't have any references. I wasn't known within the party. I hadn't been getting my name out there. So, hey, I was well behind the 8 ball. She probably would have won the pre-selection. I have no doubt she would have probably won the pre-selection. But if I'd been on that stage with her, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
You were the one. You were popular in the branches around Warringah, so you would have a lot of votes within the branch structure.
Well, that's what it comes down to. It's a plebiscite.
Well, but also people that from head office come and vote on the same time too.
Yes.
So they would have like a super PAC vote. Their vote would be worth more than them.
I'm not exactly sure how it all washes out.
You would get the branches and your members, people that know you in the branches in Warringah.
Look, we don't know that for sure because we never got there.
I'm just saying.
So I guess.
So we're speculating, but what I'm saying is that you are impressive. You know what you're talking about. You do your research and you do the hard work. It's not your first rodeo, right? You've run 2 campaigns. You've helped countless other candidates with their campaigns. The fact of the matter is that you would have been a very impressive candidate, okay, with the backing of the blue behind you, right? It could have upset the apple cart to a point that, how do you know the ripples? All of a sudden you're in federal parliament.
Tony says, I don't know how I feel about this one. The podcast isn't your vehicle to Parliament, Stephen. The podcast is your destination. Well,
yeah, but well, you know what? We used the podcast was started for us to learn to be better candidates. We used it as a.
Well, that's why they would. Here I am doing a podcast most times two times a week, discussing all issues, which means I can now discuss a lot of these issues without having to rely on notes. I've written articles, almost 9 articles for the Spectator now. I've had articles published in the UK. I've been interviewed on a lot of independent media. I get on ADH TV. I used to get on TNT radio when they were still around here. I would be nervous if I went on Sky News or Channel 9 or Channel 7 or any of those outlets, but I'm sure I'd be able to get by.
Of course you would.
So anyway, we're never going to find out those things. Who knows what, that wasn't the path I was meant to go down. I meant to go down the path that's presenting itself. But here's the thing. I have never been so happy since Monday. And this is going to sound horrible, but it's almost like, when you break up with a girl and suddenly you think, hey, I'm free. I can date whoever I want. I can go wherever I want. I can say whatever I want. I'm not restricted. I can live my own life now.
Can I ask couple of questions?
You're meant to be asking me questions the whole way along.
Do you think in hindsight you think you try to achieve things too quickly?
No, I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't. Let me rephrase that. I don't have any regrets.
No, the fact
we've had countless conversations with this in the middle of the night while you were working.
Oh,
in the bedroom.
In the bedroom.
Pillow talk.
In my bed, but not in your work office.
Yeah, right.
At 2:00 in the morning. The point I'm trying to say is that, and I've said this, a few other guys said this thing, and honestly, if this is a bit of push, I still think you try to go too quickly. You should play a bit more of the long game.
The problem is, may I just for a second, right? The time is now. It has to happen now. If it doesn't happen now, what are you going to wait? We're almost at World War III.
Here's the thing. The whole time in the party, I was told one thing. So I didn't pop my head up for pre-selection. I was encouraged to run for pre-selection. I had a whole team assembled to support me, right?
But
so it wasn't like it was me trying to pressure people.
They weren't your trusted confidants where some other blokes like me who know you a bit longer, with due respect, should listen to us.
Well, this was the problem that I had. I had good friends telling me to do one thing, good friends telling me to do another thing. I was in the middle of them, plus all these outside nefarious people. And you know what?
What are you meant to do?
Did I make the wrong decision?
No.
Should I was getting encouraged to pull my nomination. I was told that I would be smeared in the media. I was told that I'd get kicked out of the party. I stuck to my guns. Did I make the right decision? Did I make the wrong decision? I suppose we can have that conversation in a year's time when we're looking back on all
With
this.
due
Do you
respect,
sleep at
Stephen,
night?
I told
When
you
I get kicked out of the next party.
Do you sleep during the day after work?
Yeah.
Well, then.
I always sleep.
No, but I'm saying no, but you know, you got nothing on
When
your
I get
conscience.
when I get a chance to sleep.
Yeah, you've done nothing. Look,
I just think you should have played a bit longer game. That's all.
I just don't think there's a
We've got
longer
another
game to
caller.
play.
Give me a second. Sorry, I didn't realize you were there, caller. Martin Jenkins, welcome. We haven't had you before. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Steve. Hi, everyone. Yeah, there's certainly some people in the Liberal Party over here who are sad that it all happened and that you're no longer in the party with us. So,
So just to be clear, you're a member of the Liberal Party?
Yep.
Yeah, probably after being on this podcast, you won't be tomorrow. Sorry, mate.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm from your area where you were going to be standing for pre-selection if you could, and I've been talking to some people about the results, and certainly there's a lot of people who think it's a shame that you're no longer in the party.
Well, look, I think there's a lot of people, just members of the party, that would like to see a pre-selection where the members had the choice. So if the members had said, Stephen, look, you know, regarding your background and your past, we just can't have you as a candidate. That's fair enough. That's how the process should play out. But we never got to that stage. So I can understand how every day, I guess, members of the Liberal Party would feel like they should have been given that choice.
But Martin, as you've been as a member of the Liberal Party, what I've said this, Steve, to privately, like, I can understand that the party removed Stephen as a candidate, but what I can't work out with dwindling memberships of parties, why would you kick a person out full stop? Now, the bloke's got value. Sure, he might not be the candidate, but surely he was branch secretary and stuff like that. Now you've kicked him out of the party. You're trying to win people over. What's the mentality of the Liberal Party kicking people out?
I mean, it's a political battlefield. So
sorry,
just let him finish. Sorry, 1 second.
So there's all kinds of warfare going on, all kinds of dirty games. There's factions everywhere, and even people just looking for their personal power. And I think one thing to consider is they might not have had a reason to stop Steve running from pre-selection, but they had a reason that he was not valid in the party at all. So, I mean, it could even be the internal rules are quite clear that he's not allowed to be a member if he was in another party in the last 5 years, unless he's got a special exemption.
Well, it did say that I can rejoin the Liberal Party in 2033, so there's still hope.
Oh, really? So you can't even come back?
Probably not now after this podcast, but
so even after 5 years after leaving One Nation, it's still not.
It'd have to be. It would have to be 10 years after I ran in an election, which was the last year's state election.
Oh wow! All right. Well, that's fairly final, unless the Liberal Party actually wants to start winning.
Well, as a member of the Liberal Party, Martin, Are you happy with the direction of the party? Are you thinking that you're going to be competitive at the next election?
So the strategy at the moment seems to be to hope that the opponents make a fool of themselves, and then we can try to be the safe party that's always been, as it's always been. I think I'd like to see more of a vision. That said, Dutton does have some things. At least he has some plans. So it's a little bit better than what we've got at, say, the state level. Do I think that there's going in the right? Well, I mean, I don't think I would have joined if I thought everything was smooth sailing. So,
would you encourage people to join the Liberal Party?
Yes, I think so. I think I don't see the other parties on the right side of politics as being credible in terms of being able to affect governance significantly. And I think there's much more opportunity to affect the Liberal Party, especially with the federal candidates, by joining than any other way of affecting politics.
Well,
one sec. Sorry, I got a question. So, by joining the party, what change do you hope to affect? Because it seems like the captains come in and do whatever the hell they want anyway. So it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people join. What are they going to do?
There's a lot of opportunity with getting organized branches, and the power does flow upwards somehow. It's not like you've got a king in charge and no one can get involved. There are a lot of things. I mean, it's a battlefield. There's all kinds of dirty tactics everywhere. But I think that's just the way the political parties are going to be. That said, people on the ground level are the ones who have the opportunity to, well, you come in, you have to start at the bottom of a hierarchy like this. But if you can organize with people who think similarly, then you can start capturing locations or various other things as you go along. And it needs participation to get anywhere with it.
Well, I think it's like when you date, if you break up with your wife when you're 30 or 40, and then you start dating age-appropriate women, they've always got a bit of baggage, right? So, or the male also has a bit of baggage. Okay, so what happens is it's the same thing with political candidates. People who are in, there's not.
I disavow Adam.
No, there's not as many people who are that interested in politics. Okay, and the ones that are may have been a member of another party and have decided that the party's moved away from them, and now they've found another party that's better. I think having, I think the rule that got you kicked out because you're a member of another party is redundant.
Well, there's been other people. They've recently a Greens person joined the Liberal Party. There's a Teal that was on council that just recently joined the Liberal Party.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
double standard.
One rule for some and one rule for others.
Left parties, but left group, left organisations. Right, you were off the right.
Look, Martin, I really do appreciate you calling in and
we do
having
appreciate
your
it.
say. I think it's very important that you have called in, taking in consideration your position within the Liberal Party. So it's much appreciated, mate. Is there anything you want to finish off with saying?
I think there's an opportunity to guide the direction of the Liberal Party. It's a numbers game, primarily. If we get people to join, then we might be able to change their path. If we don't join, if you've got another party that's a really credible alternative that you think is going in the right direction, then maybe that makes sense. But as we stand, I think our best path to getting some politics that we like is joining the Liberal Party and making our voices heard there.
Okay. Well said, mate, and thank you for calling in.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Please call in again soon.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks, mate. Okay, really good comments there from Martin. Thank you very much.
See, we don't bite.
Yes, that's correct.
Can I ask a question now? We've told
the Kahuna. I have to say this because I just love saying the
Kahuna.
Kahuna.
He's on there. He's on again, is he?
Kahuna's on. Normal Aussies are sick to death of both Liberal and Labor, plus the Nationals, Greens, Teals, and their BS.
And they keep voting them in, though. They keep voting them in. You got, like, state election, Labor, 56% of the vote in my area. I mean, geez, you know, like, if you're sick of them, then who do you then vote for somebody else? Not you, Kahuna. I'm not talking about you, Kahuna.
No,
I'm just saying in general
I'm
comments.
just laughing at Tony because Tony's hilarious. Tony says, love how you burnt 2 bridges in one podcast tonight. Clearly, you can't affect change in the political arena when there is an absence of authenticity within the respective parties. Look at the power of Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Chris Williams, and Sean Ryan.
Can you put it back up there so that we can read them when you put
What
the
do you need
comments
to
up?
read it
I like
for?
to
I'm
read the
reading it
comment.
out.
Yeah, but I like to read them as
You're
well.
sitting up staring at the screen the
No,
whole
because
time,
look
especially
at the,
this guy.
Look at the camera. Okay, but when you have a comment, I'll look up there and have a look at the comments. I like to read the comments. I like to see who's writing in.
Now, Steve.
Look, they are all basket cases and sold their souls.
Yeah, I already showed that one.
To go globalists. Yeah, well.
And who sent it?
Kahuna! The California rock, yeah, it was cool.
All right, I'll make sure I put it on the big screen when I put the comments up. Okay,
That would be really nice.
Okay.
Because I do like to read the effort that people
Okay,
write
all
in.
right.
All
One
right.
Nation scum.
Well, at least I'm in a party.
I'll start my own party.
Hey, we got to talk about that, my friend.
Now, Stephen,
I have to move this up because I'm about to show a comment so Adam can see it.
Thank you.
Great.
Great comment, Tony.
So everyone's on Tony's side.
Now, Stephen. Now
Sam,
that you've done your history for the last 2.5 years, what is your future?
Podcasting, articles, being a hired gun.
He might come and help me at a campaign next time.
I might have to trek out here and help Adam sometimes.
Obviously, still got political aspirations.
I'll stay involved. They're not going to get rid of me.
No, because I've got
a master plans brewing in my head.
Now we'll have the time to think about it.
You'll have to find out by heading to commandingthenarrative.com, hit the sign up button, and you'll keep up to date with everything I've got planned.
You know, from the middle.
What do you think I should do, Sam?
Not join the Liberal Party again.
Join the Labor Party. What about the Teals? Might as well, if you can't beat them,
join them.
They won't touch it because you once again they'll see you run for One Nation and get struck off quicker than the Liberal Party.
Who's the only party that will take me?
The minor parties will still take you. I'd just sit out for next couple this election. And then much.
Is the answer being a candidate, or can you affect change? Look at Brian Marlow, who was in the Parliament talking about the disinformation legislation. He's the head of the Taxpayers Alliance. You can achieve a lot of good things. You don't have to be a candidate. You don't have to be within a party.
Well,
as soon as you go in the party system, you're told what you can say, what you can't say, how to act.
The Taxpayer Alliance are aligned to a political party.
Well, it does, yeah, but so
I'm
what?
Saying, well, if you got it, obviously they're more of a bigger group than us, than the influencer. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, we've got a little bit of time to discuss some of the big issues because there are big issues happening. Well, let's play this clip and then we can get your comments, guys, because there's a lot happening in the world.
He was once known as the most powerful man in media, with prime ministers at his beck and call. But Alan Jones's world is in pieces tonight. Detectives today raiding Jones's Harbourside apartment and charging him with 24 offences, most relating to sexual assault allegedly spanning 8 victims over 18 years.
Looking every one of his 83 years of frail, Alan Jones is led from police custody on bail. The one-time loudest voice in Australian media, now silent. Are you going to insist that you're innocent?
What do you boys think about this one?
Wow. A fall from grace, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess proven innocent until proven guilty, but when
let's do that.
But when there's smoke, there's sometimes fire.
Yeah, but there's also money involved too, and people can rub 2 sticks together and make.
Well, this has been around for a very, very long time. It was in the 1980s, was it? When he was coach of the Wallabies, he was found in the toilet. He wasn't charged
in Hyde Park.
He wasn't charged for it, so.
But there's always
knows what happened.
There's always been whispers about other stuff too.
Let me tell you something. There's a lot of whispers about this sort of stuff in politics.
In politics, keep it vague.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I just think this is a bit of a shock to me. I was excited when I met the man in person a few times. We tried to get him on the show a few times.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, because you can, I mean, somebody to learn a lot from. It's very.
We should have him in here. He'd be able to touch you on the leg.
Well, you know, maybe I'd let him. But what I'm saying is, just give me your knowledge. I just want that knowledge, you know, of, you know, being a broadcaster and political pundit and all that. I just think it's something that it's a shock to everyone, and I think that you should just let the courts decide under a jury of his peers.
What I've read is that least they're mostly adults. It's not as if they're 10.
Well, there was one 17-year-old.
Well, that's a different. It's a different law that I know.
Still legal.
No, the days of
It depends.
No,
it depends if it's an authority figure.
Yeah.
So if it's a teacher or something like that,
Would he be
it has to
considered
18?
Would he be considered an authority figure if it was to do with the Institute of Sport or something?
Depends on the circumstances.
Yeah,
If he just met him in a restaurant somewhere,
it's all right.
My understanding is that yes, I mean, it's not okay to sexually assault someone, but if it's consensual, it would be okay. But if he was a teacher or say a boss or whatever, some sort of authority
Has
figure,
to be an adult.
You have to be over 18.
See, I was told by a cop. There was a person I know that he's about to go to jail, but big difference between 16-year-old person to a 17-year-old person and an 18. They say this copper told me the old 18, wherever it was 18, now it's 17.
The Kahuna
and 16
says the Wood Royal Commission did mention some high-profile names. I do know Malcolm Roberts said somewhere that he'd looked into this and couldn't find anything.
Right.
So I don't know. I haven't seen the names.
See, I know a bloke who was at the Royal Commission for Child Abuse. He was a headmaster of a school. He said he knew nothing of this sort of stuff. So it's really hard to.
So there's not too much that we can say about it.
Can't say much,
So let's move on to you know, until there's a verdict, I suppose we can talk about
This
a
is
little
the
bit more.
good news week.
This is the good news. So this is Matt Canavan's X page. The Albanese government abandons controversial misinformation bill amid widespread opposition.
But then I heard, so we were talking about this now, but then I heard saw Craig Kelly's X post and saying that it's that Albanese's put it forward to be heard in the Senate at first appointment on Monday.
No, I was told, and there was some reports saying that it's not even going to get to
a vote.
Vote won't even be brought up as.
I thought it was.
So you're worried that a lot of people will abstain from voting?
There's something here. I can't remember. Look,
that's 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago.
He posts a lot of stuff on here.
Well, some of the stuff's wrong because he should have known. Like it was announced this morning that it was going to be scrapped.
Well, he's reposted. I mean,
12 hours ago. But what's the one from 3 hours ago?
This is what Adam's referring to. Craig Kelly's X feed. So this was reposted. Huge thank. This is from the Libertarian Party. Huge thanks to everyone who was involved against this pushback.
That's not the post that I saw though that I was talking about. Let me see if it's still up
Albanese
online.
government to scrap misinformation bill.
That's 12 hours ago. But what's further back?
I don't know.
Well, as far as
that's Adam will try and find
so
it.
Craig Kelly's, I assume that Craig Kelly's officially joined the Libertarian Party.
Has he done it?
I assume it would be. Between you and me and the gatepost, we all know he's going to run in the Senate. So,
anyway, what does this mean for the Albanese government, Sam? If this legislation is going to get defeated, it's another failure on Albanese's part.
The only thing would be it's not a lot of people would know this sort of stuff.
You think so?
Well, it's
Are
pretty
we
out
really
there.
that in the bubble?
Sky News have been talking about it. Like the Greens have been talking about it.
But is it on Instagram where everyone is on all these
well, I mean,
people are on
who are who are on?
Is there algorithms pointing out to politicians or political stuff?
The Richard says the slimy Greens.
You and me, I got that.
Yeah, because I know we're in the political bubble. We watch this stuff.
Richard said the Slimy Greens grandstanded by pretending that they gave the death stroke to the Mad Bill. Well, they kind of did though, Richard, didn't they?
Anyway, who cares? Who cares who put the death stroke in as long as the death stroke happened?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I actually recommend, and I've seen posts, and I'm plagiarizing here, but send a message to your Green member who your senator and stuff, that thank them for
say you finally did something right, mate.
One thing I can support you on, doing something for the people.
I haven't seen the Greens voted in the lower house.
Well, yeah,
Bans and the boys.
Well, the Teals voted for it in the lower house, except for Allegra Spender, who's the black sheep in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then Pocock was going to vote against it.
Yeah,
which I didn't trust, but I guess we won't find out now.
Well, we never know, because this post from Craig was saying that Albanese put it up.
You sure the post wasn't old?
Oh, well, look, I don't know, because it's just updates. Social media age.
Was it this one here? Wake
That's
up
the
to
social media. That's the under 16s one.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, anyway.
Sorry, guys. I should.
That's all right. Well, we've got a couple of comments here. The Kahuna says, I think the under 16 bill is just as dangerous.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
But it's just another way. It's just another way to get it in.
That will go through because both majors agree with it.
Yeah. And the problem is that's digital ID, and that's coming into that means everyone has to verify.
Tony said it was the overwhelming submissions. And yes, excellent point. It was the power of the people pushing back. You don't have to worry about politicians. It was the people calling officers, emailing, writing letters, whatever it was, pushing back against this. So big thank you.
And I reckon.
Yes, thank you, everyone. But then think about it, right? So how did you find out about the misinformation and disinformation bill? Was it not an original politician who came across and put it out there and made it public? It would have been Rennick, or it would have been Antic, or it would have been Roberts, right? That actually said, hey, this misinformation, they would have started that fire.
Matt Canavan.
See what I mean? So what happens is that it is important to have politicians aligned with your values in there, because they put it out. Who else watches politics all the time? You wouldn't even that bill would have got passed. No one would have even known about it unless you had a few brave souls in Parliament House putting it out to the public. And it starts with one, and then another, and another, and then all of a sudden Sky pick it up, or Fox, or whatever the news channel is that we watch, and everyone just starts to go.
Okay, so we're almost at the 2-hour mark, but I really want to play this one.
Let's go.
This one's amazing. So COP29 is just happened. 2-week conference. I don't understand that. And it's in Baku in Azerbaijan.
Where's that?
It's an island probably being slowly taken over by water.
Anyway, this is what happened over there.
My name is Claire Anderson. I'm the Group Director of Sustainability Performance at Worley. And I'm very delighted to be here today. And to start, I might, whilst we're not on Australian lands, I'd still like to start with acknowledging the traditional owners of Australia and the Torres Strait Islands, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging.
What a disgrace. They'll be all saying, what the hell is this person going on about? You know?
Is that the one that Ralph Babbitt was at?
Yeah, he was over there bagging the crap out of him.
Yeah, I would have.
It's ridiculous.
I got welcome to the country. So many. I was born in this country. We were all born in this country, right?
I went to a function about 3 weeks ago, and they all first bit of welcome to the country. I just walked out.
No, so
Chu, I just want to bring this up. Chu was put something in the chat before. I don't want to bring up things that are not that we don't know about. I mean, I hadn't heard about that one before, so if we can't verify it, I don't want to get too many lawsuits after this podcast.
Who's this one? What was?
Oh, now you're going to make me talk about it.
No, all right. Okay, I didn't. All right.
No,
I thought you were reading Chu's message.
No, there was one that Chu had written previously that I didn't bring up, and Chu's saying, all right, don't bring it up then.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That's the reason why I didn't want to.
Yeah, we've got to be careful.
I can't always.
You know what?
Especially
I tend to
watch this podcast.
I don't put up the comments with any swearing. I don't put up any of the comments that allegations, those sorts of
Remember,
things.
we are conservative.
You do have to be a little bit well behaved in the comments, but Yeah. So anyway, back to this welcome to country. I mean, this has happened before, which is scary. What kind of mind virus are these people under?
The woke mind virus that Elon Musk always talks about. But I was saying, I was at this conference, as I said in the opening, and we did the welcome to the country. So we had an Aboriginal elder, and he welcomes to the country, and they talk about their life for 15 minutes, and everything's good. So all right, I'm welcomed to my own country that I was born in without my choice. I mean, like just mum and dad, got busy 9 months before I was born, and let's go, right? And then what happens is every single speaker after that proceeded to welcome me to my own country. Now, I liken it to the fact of, and answer me, right? So, when you come home from work and the wife opens the door, girlfriend, whatever, right? And says, good to see you. Come in, right? So you're welcomed to your home, right? Or husband and wife, depending who's home first, right? Welcome. Oh, hey, babe, how you going? Come in, you're welcome, right? Then they stop you at the door to the dining room and go, welcome to the dining room. Come in and eat and have dinner for you. We've finished dinner now. Welcome to the lounge room. You would get the shits.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I think that, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot with all this welcome to the country stuff, because people go, I can accept one at the start of a ceremony, but if every speaker after that's going to give me a 15-minute welcome to the country every time I'm here, hey, I just want to get to business and stop wasting ratepayers' money.
I can't even accept the one.
Oh, I can't stand it too.
I agree. Like, I'm on your point, but I think we all know that I'm a little bit more like lax than you guys with that kind of stuff, right?
Well, unfortunately, when you're at council meetings, you probably have to just cop one.
We do a acknowledgement of country, which is different to welcome of country. It's only a 2-liner thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But I'm going to tell you something. I'll oppose it if they do a proper welcome to country every council session.
Would you get the numbers?
No, I wouldn't get the numbers.
Just to finish up, because we are.
But they'd all be barracking for me in the background. I can tell you that.
I do think we should finish up. But Sam, can you finish up by just explaining one thing? There's been some legislation going through changing electoral funding laws.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, basically, it's to curtail big spending campaigns.
Does that affect the Teals?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So the Teals can't spend as much money.
Like $110 million.
Are they capped to spending? How much?
It's a cap to a certain amount, and where the big pay, because on individual seats there's X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And then the Labor and Liberal, because they run in every seat, and everyone else, they'll be able to spend $80 or $90 million because they're running in 150 seats.
Does this affect minor parties?
Yes, it will.
How?
Because they've limited their spending.
They don't spend much anyway.
True, but as we've proven with the Teals, they spend a lot of money to get your message out there.
Yeah, so it's going to mainly hurt the Teals.
Yeah,
because you got to remember that
some
like Allegra spenders spent over $2 million. So did Nick Ryan. And
another factor is I just lost my thought.
Another factor is
we were talking about minor parties and how much they can spend.
Yeah,
donations.
Yeah. You got to declare anything over $1,000.
Okay.
Online banking.
So it used to be 14,800. Now it's down to 1,000.
You'll find the Libs might try and push that back out to a couple of thousand, just for privacy, for small privacy and things like that.
Okay.
Which won't come into the 28 election. Won't be for 25.
Yeah, because it's got to be after the next after the last so many years after the election before they can change the rules.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So that will.
Chu says, I don't think Jones is guilty. He's been opposed to the One World agenda for a long time. So the proponents of the WEF have to destroy him. So.
I mean, that is also a bit of a good point.
Then again, he's off the air.
Yeah.
He's already pretty much done. He's got health issues and he wasn't broadcasting.
I don't know, but it's still a good point because you never know what's going on with the
been
WEF.
people after him for the last 30 years.
Oh, there's always been people after him. Tony says, I'm okay. I'm with Sam on this. I walk out. Right. Speaking of the welcome to country.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Another podcast down. We spilled our guts tonight. Hopefully,
be our last one before Christmas.
No, we don't stop, mate.
We don't stop. Fair enough.
We don't stop.
The only reason why we don't do them is if we are literally working
Sunday night
or an event. I.e., for me, normally it's Stephen's working or something at night shift, so he won't be able to do it, or I'll be at maybe some sort of council function or something like that I can't kind of
quickly.
avoid.
How are you getting on with a lot of your fellow councillors?
You know what? It's really good.
Good.
It is really good.
You'd be surprised who's your friends and who aren't.
Well, everyone at the moment is working together. We're still in the honeymoon.
Yep.
Okay. I got to admit, I've opposed a few things. Like so I don't think I've done a podcast. And did I tell you about opposing? I opposed the Bangladeshi flag being raised for mother language. Did I tell you about that?
You brought it up on the podcast.
Oh, I brought it up on the podcast. So that came to true. So they're trying to say that the Bangladeshi flag represents all mother nation, all mother languages because of something that happened a while ago, and people. So I oppose that because I have a mother language. Obviously, I'm Australian born, but I have a Maltese heritage. And I've got to be honest with you, the Bangladeshi flag does not represent my mother language of Malta. I can be honest with you, I probably never thought, a Maltese person probably never thought about.
Why are we talking about this stuff?
All right, so this is right.
Why can't they focus on real issues?
No, so now what we do is we try to negotiate, and that's what the council is. Okay, so a little bit of a story, guys, but I like it because, shit, I'm a new councillor and I freaking just fought my ass off to try and protect Australian values, what I was elected for. So I said, okay. So we debated for about 15 minutes. You can all see it on the council website. But I said to them, why don't we raise the Australian flag, right, in celebration that we have a place that will harbour us and we can speak our mother language without being persecuted, murdered, or killed.
What is a mother language?
Well, mother language would be like, say, for me, my mother language would be Maltese, if I could even speak it. Right?
Does this mean that we can celebrate the English language?
Well, no, because another councillor mentioned
from
she goes,
England?
so the mother councillor goes, well, I don't have a mother language because I'm Australian and I speak Australian, which was hilarious because it's English, right?
Yeah.
So that was a funny moment where everyone's kind of gone, she's a councillor and she speaks Australian, not English. Anyway, right? So but mother language, right? Anyway, so then and we debated. I mean, there was good points. Why don't we put up the UNESCO flag for mother language? Oh, no, we can't do that. We want the Bangladeshi flag because they wanted the Bangladeshi flag. So I said, let's raise the Australian flag and celebrate a place that we have to come and harbour it, a harbour safety and all that kind of stuff. And you can celebrate and speak your language and all this kind of stuff and not get shot in the street because of it, right? Anyway, so a shadow motion got formed, okay, which was crazy because I didn't even know I could do shadow motion. But I will say that they go, but then we do raise the Australian flag anyway. It's always raised there. And I said, that's okay, but we're not celebrating the Australian flag. Let's get a bigger Australian flag and let's raise that and celebrate the Australian flag. Okay. And then she goes, and then they go,
that's the flag of Bangladesh.
That's the mother language because they died because of their mother language of being persecuted and things like that. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. So why don't you raise the Bangladeshi flag in Civic Centre in memoriam of the people who died for speaking their language? Don't make it represent us all as mother languages. It doesn't represent all of us as a mother language. Okay. So otherwise we would raise the Maltese flag. We would raise the English flag. We would raise the, Scandinavian and every other bloody flag anyway. Right. Okay. So in the end, okay, even the Australian councillors voted against raising and celebrating the Australian flag because of my shadow motion. So because it came down to the vote, do we raise the Australian flag instead of the Bangladeshi flag? And they all voted it down. I voted for it. They voted it down. So even the Aussies on council, okay, who you think are fighting for you, who got the majority, who you voted in, thinking that they're going to look after you, voted down the Australian flag.
Because they've all been led to believe that they're horrible people and
Right?
they shouldn't respect who where they're from.
Who else supported you?
Look, I got to be honest with you. I was in the heat of the battle, and I didn't pay attention. There is a division on there, so you'll see who voted for it and what not voted for it. Okay, so that's the thing as well. And then another thing that came up as well is that I also voted against ratepayer-funded Ramadan festivals.
All right.
Okay, because it's for a specific denomination. Even had that councillor actually even said, who is Islamic, said that Ramadan is not an Islamic religious festival. He admitted it, said it 2 or 3 times during his speech. All right, and it's not it's about community and about involving everyone. Well, it's not. It is one of the top it's equivalent to their Christmas. It's our Christmas. It's like it's Christians' Christmas where Jesus was born.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what happens is, and they have their Ramadan festival, which is their and hey, I'm all for you want to celebrate your Ramadan festival. That's fine, do it. I'm not saying not to do it, but fund it yourself. Get the local community, speak to your mosques, speak to your local Arabic schools and stuff like that, and let's go and run it at your own event. Why must the ratepayers pay for a religious festival that's for one denomination? So as I said, I have this is Ramadan. This is what I've and so I did contest that, and it's not about not wanting people to celebrate and look after their culture. We have to preserve culture and our past. I'm very proud to have a Maltese history. Malta, one of the most bombed places on earth, fought off lots of invasions and things like that. I'm very proud of that. But I'm Australian. I live in Australia, and I'm proud to be an Australian with Australian values. And people come here because of Australian values. So we need to fight for the Australian values.
Oh, very good. Tony says, good podcast. I enjoyed it and even had a good laugh at Adam's comic stylings. So how about that?
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Yes, we did spill our guts in this one, especially me. Adam did as well. And Sam, thank you for joining us and adding your perspective. As we said, you've been on this journey as well. So
and the journey continues.
The journey continues. It won't end.
No, never ends.
Not at all.
And he's got the bug.
Only onwards and upwards from
As
here.
Prof said, maintain the rage, mate.
Yeah. So thank you for everyone who has stuck with us. We've noticed that we've maintained our audience and even picked up a few people all the way through. So thanks for sticking with us.
Like, share, and subscribe.
This is the longest one that we've done. So we much appreciate everyone for all your ongoing support. Always remember, if you do want to throw us a few dollars, Buy Me a Coffee is the place. And head to commandthenarrative.com if you want to find out what I'm going to be up to next. Head there and get the newsletter weekly by hitting the sign up button. And otherwise, please share this around, especially if you have anyone who's thinking about joining a political party. They might get some insights on how they operate. I'm not saying don't join one, but you need to be aware of what happens and what we're facing in this country, because I think there's a lot of people out there that feel politically homeless. I'm one of them now. So it is just part of the journey. I'm sure it will lead to something fantastic down the line, and we'll look back on all of this and think, God, we really went through something and we fought and we got there in the end. But we'll see how that plays out. For now, we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching.
See ya.
Wrong one.